So I was teaching at Richter's, and I asked if I could see the comfrey, and they said, well, what comfrey do you want to see? I said, oh, you have different kinds? They said, yes. So I went out to their show garden. They grow out almost every single one of the plants that they sell and grow out their seeds as well. And there I saw, for the first time, Symphytum officinale, which is a small plant flowering at about knee-high with yellow flowers. And he said, well, that's not the comfrey I have in my garden. Oh, that one over there, that's the comfrey I have in my garden, which is a tall plant flowering at head-high or even higher, with flowers that can be purple or bluish or pinkish or even sometimes white or cream colored. They run through a kind of range of colors. And they said, oh, that's Symphytum uplandica, and it's a Symphytum uplandica cross done by Henry Doubleday, who did dozens of crosses to get rid of the pyrrolizidine alkaloids in comfrey so that comfrey would be safe for food and medicine. I said, well, that's what I'm growing. Now, insofar as I can tell, and it's hard to get information from many of the suppliers, Symphytum uplandica crosses are the only thing that's in cultivation. They're what's on the market, even though it's all labeled Symphytum officinale. I can tell you that I personally have drunk at least 1 quart of comfrey leaf, and I'm using the leaf, not the root, comfrey leaf infusion. I've been drinking at least 1 quart per week for more than 30 years. And when I have an injury to bones, tendons, ligaments, skin, mucous surfaces, or just want to remember more, and I drink more than 1 quart of comfrey a week. I actually had my arm torn off. Everything was torn. It was inside. The skin was intact, but everything inside was ripped off, tendons, ligaments. And I was drinking, anywhere from 6 to 8 cups of comfrey leaf infusion almost daily for 6 to 8 weeks. And I have far greater mobility, flexibility, and strength in that arm than people who haven't been injured. So comfrey certainly gets my vote of respect for its ability to strengthen and heal. And I am not the least bit concerned about it being a problem.
Okay, so this alkaloid in this new version is not necessary?
Henry Doubleday lived in England and did primary research work in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and is, to the best of my knowledge, dead.
Mm-hmm.
We want to call something that was created in the mid-1940s new. I'm all for it.
Okay. All righty.
Personally, I wouldn't exactly call it new.
Yeah.
Since we're talking, 65 years?
Yeah.
Since he did these crosses. These hybrids have been possibly even more. It might have even been the late 30s. I'm not totally certain on the dates. Pyrrolizidine alkaloids are alkaloids that can occur in plants and can cause hepatic venous congestion. In other words, they cause the vein leaving the liver, the primary vein leaving the liver, to swell up so that liver function, of course, goes down. The truth of the matter is we have never seen any adult human deaths from this, although we have seen one woman we think was reacting to comfrey pepsin pills, which contain comfrey root. Comfrey pepsin pills, and she was taking about 10 of them every hour, and she did get some hepatic venous congestion there. But when she stopped taking the pills, everything returned to normal. There are 2 neonatal possibilities. In both instances, a pregnant mom was using comfrey root, either comfrey root capsules or comfrey root boiled down into a decoction toward the tail end of the pregnancy. And one of the babies was almost immediate death within hours postpartum. The other one hung on for a couple of weeks. And we're pretty sure that their deaths were due to hepatic venous congestion there. But again, that was comfrey root. That was comfrey root in capsules. I never use herbs in capsules. That was comfrey root boiled down. I don't use comfrey root at all, and certainly if I was going to use it, I'd use it only externally. And what I'm suggesting is comfrey leaf infusion, not a tea, not a tincture, but the infusion of the comfrey leaf. I make an infusion by weighing out 1 ounce of dried herb, 1 ounce of dried comfrey leaf, putting it into a quart jar, filling that jar to the top of the boiling water, screwing a tight lid on it, and letting it steep like that for at least 4 hours, better overnight. Then I strain that out and drink the infusion, refrigerating what I don't drink right away and doing my best to drink it up within 2 days.
Okay. And then we had another member, Operation Thunder Monkey, who wants to know are there herbs that you can combine with comfrey to slow down its cell proliferation action? Would you want to?
I was trying to find some polite way to say balderdash.
Okay.
Absurd, crazy, nuts. Where on earth did this flying monkey ever get this idea?
Couldn't tell you.
It's just absolutely bizarro is all I can say. So let me be a little clearer, and I do apologize, Monkey Man, if I've offended you in any way, but that really is not a good idea at all. That you're going around here with the comfrey. Drugs are purified concentrated substances that have a direction of action. Herbs are unpurified, unconcentrated conglomerates of constituents that act not in a linear fashion but in a global fashion. So in trying to figure out, like, what is the man thinking about? If there's a puncture wound or a deep gash, there's possibility for tetanus to be introduced into that puncture wound or that deep gash. And tetanus is an anaerobic bacteria. That means it thrives in the absence of oxygen. So if we put something like golden seal on the outside of that wound to make it like seal over, then we can actually get tetanus because the tetanus was somehow introduced into that wound. And so maybe he's heard something like that you don't want to, heal over the top of a wound if it's a deep wound. But we're talking here about using comfrey internally for deep internal healing, and when there's things on the outside of the body where there are those deep wounds, gashes, and so on, I have other herbs that I would use. I wouldn't use comfrey externally.
Okay. And then kind of a follow-up on something you said. Could comfrey halt or reverse Alzheimer's?
At this point, we have to understand that Alzheimer's is only diagnosable by autopsy.
Yeah.
And so we go back to where I think you and I started, which is I don't treat diseases. So you're asking me if herb X can treat disease Y.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? And what I'm doing my best to tell you is that herbs are unique conglomerations of constituents that can have a large number of different effects, and that in the wise woman tradition, we are not out to do battle with diseases. We are not out to kill every disease. We are here to make peace with ourselves and our bodies, however they are operating. My mentor, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who worked almost exclusively with people with terminal diagnoses, used to say to us, "You're not okay, then I'm not okay, and that's got to be okay."
Yes.
So what I'm offering you, what I'm opening the door to for you, I hope, is to lay down your sword.
Yes.
You don't have to kill every disease in the world.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm
Let's nourish.
We're so in this culture. It's yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question.
When we took my dad to France, every morning we ate, breakfast in the same cafe in Paris every morning, and every morning my dad would look around, roll his eyes, lean over to me, and say, "Do you notice that all the signs are in a foreign language?" Every morning I would say to him, "We're in Paris, France." He would go, "Oh, we're in Paris, France. Very nice." But, it wasn't like classic Alzheimer's, because we could sit him on a park bench and say, "Watch the pretty girls, Dad. We're going to the Eiffel Tower. We'll be back in 2 hours." And he'd be sitting right there in 2 hours. He'd say, "Saw a lot of pretty girls." So I am one of my sweethearts, a wonderful, wonderful woman that I've been, deeply connected to for over 30 years. Her mother hated me. But her mother's Alzheimer's finally got her to the point where she completely forgot who I was. And then we had a really marvelous time. It was so homophobic, she simply could not cope. And, she just, totally forgot all of that. It was, just fabulous. We had, a lot of good years with Fern's mom once she really started forgetting stuff.
Wonderful. My next question is, Lipitor is the number one prescribed drug in the United States. But recent articles have said that while Lipitor actually lowers cholesterol, it doesn't actually lower heart attacks, the rate of heart attacks. What do you think actually improves heart health, and are there any blood tests that you find useful in understanding a person's health?
Good question. And we need to turn the clock back again to the Framingham Heart Health Study that was done in Massachusetts. So we go back, 50 years or more to one of the major studies that was done. And if you actually go and look at the data, what you find is that the people who were eating the most animal fat were the least likely to have heart attacks. And that the amount of cholesterol in their diet had basically no bearing at all on their risk of heart disease. And Sally Fallon, that's Fallon, at the Weston A. Price Foundation, it's westonaprice.org, has a video called The Oiling of America, in which she brings forth some pretty staggering information about the corn industry and how the corn industry distorted the facts from this study and made it seem that butter especially was a threat to health, and that corn oil and margarine made from corn oil would be healthier. And this is the beginning of what Sally calls the oiling of America. In fact, nothing could be worse for the heart than corn, unfortunately. And what has happened over the past 50 or 60 years is that animals that we eat are increasingly being fed corn. And corn actually changes the nature of cholesterol and the nature of fat in the body. So do vegetable oils. In fact, when we look at indigenous diets, we find that most indigenous people eat as much animal protein as they can get their hands on, whether it's meat, blood, milk, cheese, yogurt. This is like the highest quality food, and it's actually associated with low heart disease risk, low cancer risk, and great longevity throughout the world. What is true about the fat in these animals, however, is that it has a ratio of 1 omega-3 to 1 omega-6. Omega-3 and omega-6 are both essential fatty acids. We hear a lot about omega-3, but we don't hear very much about omega-6. And that's because omega-6 is the wicked sister, shall we say. Omega-3, we know, promotes heart health. But omega-6 drives inflammation. And most of the oils that are supposed to be rich in omega-3 have, by factors of 10, sometimes by factors of 100, more omega-6 fatty acids in them than omega-3 fatty acids. So for heart health, what we want to do is to choose full-fat, organic dairy products and meat products from animals that have been pastured rather than grained. And we can then know that we are keeping our hearts optimally